So we've spent time talking about some of the bottom-up controls of herbivores, for example, within ecosystems. But there's also top-down controls that we mentioned. And we're going to go through these in a little bit more detail here. Consumption by predators often alters the abundance of organisms across more than one link in a food web. So earlier, in our very simple chain of plants, herbivores, and consumers that are then linked through trophic dynamics, that we talked about how consumers impact herbivores by consumption and herbivores impact plants. But the consumption of herbivores by carnivores, for example, have impacts on plants also, and some of these effects are propagated through the food chain. The indirect ways that carnivores can impact plants is called a trophic cascade. Figure 10.8 shows the basic dynamics associated with trophic cascades. Now here we're going to talk about different trophic levels, first, second, third, and fourth. And that trophic level is simply a step in transfer of energy and materials up a food chain. So the primary producers here, so the first trophic level, are plants. Then we'll have herbivores, and then we'll have carnivores, and what we can think of after that is secondary carnivores. Carnivores that eat carnivores. When we do that, we're going to take a look at systems and what they look like with 1, 2, 3, or 4 trophic levels present. So when there's only one trophic level present, if there's just plants and no herbivores, this system tends to be pretty green. There's going to be lots of plants around. But in a system where you have herbivores and plants but no carnivores, that system tends to be pretty barren. There's bottom-up control over the herbivore numbers, and there often isn't a lot of plant left around. Now this also assumes that the quality of plants are not limiting. So in this case, going from one trophic level to 2 causes a reduction in the amount of plant material that's present. If we add another trophic level, so we start to add carnivores to the system, such as these foxes, then you get a situation where the foxes are going to consume a lot of the herbivores. But not having a lot of herbivores around means that there's a lot of plant around. So there's a cascade from foxes through herbivores to the amount of plant material that's present. And with 3 trophic levels, you can see the world is green again. If we add a 4th trophic level, such as hunters on foxes, the amount of carnivores are reduced. Reducing the number of carnivores increases the herbivores, and that makes the world barren again. So 1, 2, 3, 4 trophic levels, plants, herbivores, carnivores, secondary carnivores, takes us from green to barren to green to barren. And often we'll talk about whether there's an even or odd number of trophic levels. So when we have an odd number of trophic levels, such as here, the world tends to be green. Even number of trophic levels, it tends to be brown. Now this is really a simple generalization, and it's actually more likely in simple trophic systems, where you don't have a large, complicated network, and not a wide array of herbivores or carnivores, for example, that can make these trophic cascades harder to propagate through the system.